The planet was quiet and empty, a dry land of stone ridges and endless sand. The wind moved slowly across the dunes, carrying dust that had been resting for thousands of years. No green plants grew here, no rivers cut the earth, and no voices were heard except the whisper of the air. But under this silence, something waited, something buried deep in the past. Aaron stood at the edge of a cliff and looked across the desert. He was a man of strong build with steady eyes that held more patience than fear. He had led many journeys before on many strange worlds, but this one was different. His team had followed signals of unknown origin that came from beneath this desert, signals that had no match in any known record. To the human explorers, it was more than just curiosity. It was a call. Behind him, his crew set up camp. There were 6 of them in total. Mira, a sharp-minded woman who studied ancient languages, carried her scanners and maps. Thomas, the engineer, checked their equipment and made sure nothing failed under the harsh heat. Lena, quiet and thoughtful, recorded every detail for future study. Joran, the pilot, stayed near their transport ship watching the skies. And Rin, the youngest of the group, moved with restless energy, eager to prove himself useful. Together they trusted Aaron, for he was known to guide people through danger with calm judgment. As they worked, a group of alien scholars stood at a distance. These aliens were tall and slender, with skin like polished stone. They belonged to a race that had traveled the stars long before humans left Earth. They called themselves the Taylor. For hundreds of years, they had studied this desert, and for hundreds of years they had failed to unlock its secret. The Taylor believed the place was cursed. They said the Serpent King's tomb was hidden here, a resting place of a ruler who once held power over many worlds. They warned of traps, of stone snakes that came alive to destroy all who dared to enter. Their voices were full of fear, and their eyes showed the memory of past losses. But the humans did not turn back. Aaron only thanked them for their warning and told his crew to continue their work. That evening, when the sun dipped low and the desert turned red, the scanners began to sing. Mira ran to Aaron with excitement. "The readings are strong here," she said, pointing to the ground near the cliff. "The energy lines are deep, but they form a pattern. It could be the entrance." The crew gathered, their hearts beating faster. Thomas placed charges to clear the sand without harming what lay beneath. The ground shook when the charges released and the dust lifted in a cloud. When it settled, the humans saw something none of them had ever seen before. A gate of stone rose from the earth taller than their transport ship. The surface was carved with the shapes of snakes winding around each other, their eyes made of green gems that still glowed faintly after ages in darkness. Strange marks lined the gate, written in a language no living being had spoken in many centuries. The snakes looked alive even though they were stone, their open mouths sharp as blades. The tailor, who watched from a distance, began to cry out. "Do not go near," they warned. "Many of our kind have entered, but none returned. The gate is guarded. The snakes do not forgive intruders." But Aaron only studied the carvings with steady eyes. "If no one returned, then perhaps they did not see what they were meant to see," he said. His words carried the weight of calm certainty, and his crew believed him. Night came, and the desert grew cold. The stars shone above them, bright and endless. Around the fire, the humans spoke in low voices. Rin, the youngest, could not hide his excitement. "If this is truly the tomb of the Serpent King, then treasures must be inside. Gold, jewels, knowledge. We could be the first to see it." Mira shook her head. "This place is older than gold. Look at the carvings. They speak of power and guardianship. The Serpent King was no simple ruler. If the tailor feared him for centuries, then what lies inside may not be simple treasure." Aaron listened but said little. He watched the gate as if it were waiting for them. He felt no greed, only a sense of challenge. To him, the tomb was not a vault of wealth, but a riddle to be solved, a test that no other race had passed. And he believed humans could. When morning returned, they prepared to approach the gate. The tailor tried once more to hold them back. "Your kind is young," said one of the stone-skinned scholars. "You do not understand the weight of such places. The snakes are not symbols. They are guardians. They awaken when touched." But Aaron did not argue. He only bowed his head politely and said, "Every path worth walking is guarded. That is why we walk it." His voice carried neither pride nor defiance, only quiet determination. The humans stepped forward as one. The sand crunched under their boots. The gate stood waiting, the green eyes of the stone snakes glowing brighter as they came near. A low hum filled the air, deep and strange, like the earth itself was breathing. Rin reached out his hand before anyone could stop him. His fingers brushed against the cold stone of a snake's head. At once the ground shook and the carvings came alive. The snakes twisted and moved, stone shifting like flesh, eyes burning with green fire. Their mouths opened wide, hissing with the sound of grinding rock. The tailor cried out in fear, fleeing back to the safety of their camp. But the humans did not run. Aaron raised his hand, steady as always, and shouted to his crew, "Hold your ground." The stone snakes rose high above them, circling the gate. Their movements were not wild but patterned, weaving shapes in the air as if in some ancient dance. Aaron watched carefully. His eyes traced the rhythm, the order hidden within the chaos. "This is no attack," he said. "It is a puzzle." Mira's sharp mind caught the meaning quickly. She studied the glowing marks on the gate, comparing them with the paths the snakes traced. "It is a sequence," she said. "The snakes are showing the key. If we follow their movement, the gate will open." Together they worked, calling out the patterns, moving in steps that mirrored the serpent's. Thomas marked the sequence on his scanner. Lena kept record. Rin, eager but controlled, followed their lead. Piece by piece, they matched the dance of stone and light. At last, the snakes stilled. Their great heads lowered, eyes fading to a softer glow. The gate groaned as ancient gears turned within. A crack of light spread across the surface, and slowly the stone doors began to open inward. The desert fell silent again, but this silence was heavier, full of promise. The humans stood before the open path, breathing hard, hearts racing but filled with triumph. They had faced what no other race had dared, and the tomb had answered. Aaron stepped forward first, his shadow falling into the dark beyond the gate. "This is only the beginning," he said. His voice was calm, but in his eyes there burned the spark of discovery. Behind him his crew followed, ready to step into the unknown. The tomb of the Serpent King had opened at last, and it had opened not for the tailor, not for any older race, but for humanity. The air inside the opened gate was cold and heavy. Dust floated slowly, stirred by their steps as Aaron and his crew walked through the massive doorway. The sound of stone grinding behind them made everyone turn. The giant snakes that had guarded the entrance slid back into the walls and froze again, becoming silent carvings once more. The gate closed, leaving the humans in shadow with only the light of their lamps cutting the darkness. The passage stretched ahead, long and narrow, carved with symbols of snakes twisting around each other. The walls seemed alive, for the glowing green lines of the carvings pulsed faintly like veins carrying some unknown energy. Mira lifted her scanner, watching the strange readings. "The energy here is unlike anything we know. It feels as if the entire tomb is awake." Rin held his lamp higher, his young face bright with both fear and excitement. "Do you think the Serpent King himself is buried here?" he asked, his voice echoing off the stone. Thomas, always practical, shook his head. "If he is, then he has been waiting longer than any of us can imagine. What worries me more are the traps that might still be working." Aaron raised his hand, signaling for silence. He studied the path carefully. His eyes moved from the floor to the walls, searching for hidden dangers. "Stay together. Do not touch anything unless we are certain." His voice carried calm strength, and the crew obeyed without question. As they advanced deeper, the sound of their footsteps grew louder in the narrow passage. Lena, who had been recording everything, whispered quietly, "These walls tell a story. Look here." She pointed at the carvings where snake-headed figures were shown bowing before a tall figure wearing a crown. The figure's eyes were shaped like gems, and its arms stretched wide as if claiming the stars. "This must be the Serpent King," Mira said softly. "He was not only a ruler but a symbol of power. Look at the snakes. They are not just beasts. They seem to be guardians bound to him." The thought made Rin shiver, yet he could not look away. He had grown up on tales of treasure hidden in forgotten places, but this felt different. This was not just about wealth. It was about a mystery so old that even the tailor, with all their wisdom, had failed to solve it. The humans walked for what felt like hours until they reached a vast chamber. The ceiling was so high that their lamps barely touched it. Pillars shaped like coiled snakes rose to support the roof, and at the far end stood another gate, even larger than the first. This gate was not plain. It was covered in golden plates, polished so well that even after centuries in the dark they reflected the light of the humans' lamps. But before the gate stood more guardians. A circle of massive stone snakes coiled around each other, their bodies thick as trees, their heads raised high. Their eyes glowed faint green, watching silently. The crew froze. Even Thomas, who rarely showed fear, gripped his tools tighter. "If they awaken like the others, we may not escape," he muttered. Aaron stepped forward, his calm gaze never leaving the Guardians. "They do not move yet," he said. "That means they are waiting. Perhaps they are testing us again." Mira walked to the carvings near the base of the gate. Her fingers traced the marks. "It looks like a puzzle," she said. "These are not warnings. They are instructions. The snakes are bound by rules. They do not strike at random." The tailor who had remained outside would have turned back by now, but the humans were different. They felt fear, but it did not control them. Instead, they felt the challenge. Rin's voice broke the silence. "What if the snakes are waiting for us to choose? What if they want to see if we are brave enough to step closer?" Aaron considered the thought and nodded. "Then we stepped closer." Slowly, he walked toward the circle of snakes. His boots echoed in the vast chamber. The others followed, each step measured and steady. The air grew colder as they neared the golden gate, and the glow in the snakes' eyes brightened. The sound of stone shifting filled the chamber. The giant serpents moved. Their bodies twisted, grinding against each other. The ground trembled as their heads lowered, blocking the humans' path. Their eyes burned with green fire, and the air filled with a hiss like 1,000 whispers. Rin gasped but held his ground. Mira quickly studied the movements. They are not striking. They are forming patterns again. Indeed, the snakes swayed back and forth, their heads moving in arcs that crossed each other. It was like watching an ancient dance of stone. Aaron watched with sharp focus. "It is another test," he said. "We must see the order." The humans spread out slightly, each one observing from a different angle. Thomas mapped the paths on his scanner. Lena called out the sequence she noticed. Mira compared the movements to the carvings on the gate. After long minutes, the pattern became clear. The snakes were forming symbols in the air, the same symbols carved into the golden plates. "It is a sequence of steps," Mira said. "If we follow it, they may let us pass." Aaron nodded. "Then we follow." One by one, they stepped in rhythm with the snake's movements. Left, forward, pause. Right, back, forward again. It was like walking through a dangerous dance where one mistake could bring the serpents down upon them. Sweat formed on Rin's brow, but he kept his eyes on Aaron. Trusting his lead, the snakes continued to shift. But each time the humans matched the rhythm, the serpents lowered their heads slightly, as if in acknowledgement. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last movement was made. The chamber fell silent. The circle of stone snakes slowly pulled back, coiling against the pillars once more. Their eyes dimmed, fading to a faint glow. The path to the golden gate was open. The crew let out breaths they had been holding. Thomas shook his head with a small smile. "I have seen many machines and many puzzles, but nothing like this. It is as if the tomb itself is alive." Aaron looked at the golden gate, his face calm but his eyes burning with purpose. "Alive or not, it has allowed us to pass. We have proven ourselves worthy of this step. But what waits beyond may be greater still." Mira studied the carvings again. Her voice was thoughtful. The Serpent King wanted more than to guard his rest. These trials are not about keeping intruders away. They are about finding those who are willing to face fear, those who can work together, those who do not turn back. Lena wrote down her words carefully, knowing they were important. Then it means the tomb was waiting, not just for anyone but for the right ones. Rin's young face glowed with pride. "And that is us," he said. "We are the first to come this far." The others smiled at his energy, for they too felt the weight of their achievement. But they also knew this was only the beginning. Aaron stepped forward and placed his hands on the golden plates of the gate. The metal was cold, yet it seemed to hum under his touch. Slowly, the plates shifted, and the massive doors began to open inward. A rush of cold air poured out, carrying with it the scent of age and stone. The chamber beyond was hidden in darkness, but faint golden light glimmered from within, promising wonders yet unseen. Aaron turned back to his crew. "Stay close," he said. "Every step deeper will test us more. But remember this, no guardian has defeated us yet, and no guardian will." With those words, he led his people into the heart of the tomb. The gate closed silently behind them, leaving the stone snakes watching once more. Their task fulfilled for now. The humans were not only intruders, they were challengers who had been judged worthy to move forward. What lay ahead was not gold alone, but the secrets of the Serpent King himself. The humans stepped into the chamber beyond the golden gate, and the sight before them filled their eyes with wonder. The space was vast, larger than any hall they had ever seen. Golden plates lined the walls, shining softly with a light that came from no flame. Pillars shaped like coiled serpents rose high into the darkness above, their scales carved with great skill. Some were wrapped around each other as if frozen in eternal struggle, while others stood tall as guardians holding the roof of the chamber. Rin's mouth opened in awe. "This is no tomb. It is a palace." His voice echoed through the empty space. Mira's eyes studied the walls with sharp focus. She moved her lamp across the carvings, tracing the patterns. "These are stories," she said. "The Serpent King is shown here again. See, he stands above crowds of people, his crown shining like the sun. He holds a sphere of light in his hands. It must have been the source of his power." Lena carefully recorded the details while her heart raced with excitement. If these walls speak truth, then the Serpent King was more than a ruler of one land. He may have ruled entire worlds. Thomas looked at the golden plates with a different eye. "The craft here is beyond anything I have seen. These plates are fitted perfectly with no space between them. Even after centuries, they shine as if they were polished yesterday. This place was built to last forever." Aaron stood silent, his gaze moving from one end of the chamber to the other. He felt the weight of the place pressing on his mind, not in fear but in respect. This was no simple resting ground. It was a legacy built to test those who entered. As they moved deeper into the hall, the silence felt heavier. The golden walls reflected their lights back at them, so it seemed as if shadows moved on all sides. The crew felt the air grow colder with each step. Suddenly, Rin pointed to the floor ahead. "Look, symbols." Indeed, the stone floor was marked with glowing lines that formed a path leading deeper into the hall. The symbols were not random. They matched the patterns the snakes had shown earlier. Mira crouched to study them. "It is the same language, the same order. The tomb is guiding us." "But why?" Aaron answered in his calm voice. "Because this place is not meant to stop us. It is meant to test us. Every step is a measure of who we are." The crew followed the glowing path. As they walked, the golden plates on the walls shifted. Images came alive, moving like living paintings. The humans gasped as they saw scenes unfold before their eyes. One image showed the Serpent King leading armies of snake-headed warriors against enemies who fled in terror. Another showed him raising the sphere of light, sending beams into the sky that lit entire worlds. There were also darker scenes, showing battles, storms, and great destruction. The Serpent King was both protector and conqueror, feared and worshipped. Lena whispered as she wrote, "He ruled with both power and fear. Perhaps that is why the tomb is guarded so fiercely." Mira nodded. Yes, he wished for only the strongest to even see his story. Those who came seeking only gold would never reach this far. Only those who seek knowledge and are willing to face trials could pass. Their steps brought them to the center of the hall, where a great statue stood. It was carved entirely of black stone, towering high with a crown upon its head. The statue's eyes were gems that glowed faint red, and in its hands it held a golden sphere. The humans stopped in silence, staring at it. The statue seemed alive, as if it were watching them. Rin's young voice broke the silence. "Do you think that is him? The Serpent King himself?" Aaron studied the figure. "It may be a likeness, but the power it represents is real, and that sphere may be more than simple gold." As if in answer, the floor began to tremble. The golden plates on the walls rattled, and the pillars of stone snakes shifted. The sound of grinding stone filled the hall. The statue's eyes glowed brighter, and the golden sphere in its hands pulsed with light. The humans stepped back, their lamps shaking in their hands. Thomas shouted, "It is moving!" Indeed, the great statue lowered its arms, raising the sphere high above its head. A beam of light shot upward, striking the ceiling. The hall was flooded with golden brilliance, so bright that the humans shielded their eyes. When the light faded, the statue stood silent again, but the sphere's glow remained, filling the chamber with soft radiance. Mira's voice trembled with awe. "This is not only a tomb, it is a message. The Serpent King wanted to show us his power even after death." Aaron nodded slowly, "And perhaps he wanted us to learn from it." They moved past the statue, following the glowing path. The hall grew narrower, the golden plates giving way to darker stone. Strange whispers seemed to echo from the walls, though no mouths spoke. The crew felt a weight pressing on their hearts, as if the tomb was testing their courage once more. Suddenly, they reached a wide chamber where the floor was covered in strange patterns. The patterns looked like snakes winding around each other, but as they watched, the carvings began to shift. The lines moved, twisting into new forms, and the stone snakes carved into the walls began to glow. Rin stepped forward, then froze as the floor beneath him shifted like water. Aaron pulled him back quickly. "Do not step without care," he warned. Mira studied the moving patterns. "It is another trial. The floor is a puzzle. If we step wrongly, it may swallow us." Thomas frowned, scanning the ground. "The symbols are changing constantly. How do we know the right path?" Aaron pointed to the glowing marks on the walls. "The snakes again. Watch their eyes. They show the safe steps." Indeed, the stone snakes carved into the walls lit their eyes in sequence, guiding the humans across the shifting floor. It was a dangerous game. One wrong step would send the floor breaking beneath them. But by trusting each other, calling out each move, and watching closely, they made their way safely across. When they reached the far side, the floor stilled. The glowing path appeared again, leading onward. The crew let out breaths of relief. Rin smiled weakly. "I thought I was done for back there." Aaron placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone. That is why we succeed." They pressed forward, and at last they reached another gate. This one was smaller but carved with greater detail. Golden serpents coiled around its frame, their mouths open wide. In the center of the door was a mark shaped like the sphere of light. Mira touched the carvings. "This is it. Beyond here must lie the heart of the tomb." Aaron looked at his crew. His voice was calm but strong. "We have passed every test so far. We will pass this one too. But remember, what waits inside may not be treasure alone. It may be something greater, something that no one else has seen." The crew nodded, their hearts filled with both fear and excitement. Together, they placed their hands on the gate. Slowly it opened inward with a deep groan, revealing a chamber glowing with golden light. The humans stepped inside, their eyes wide with wonder. The golden halls had led them here, to the place where the true secret of the Serpent King waited. The new chamber glowed with golden light that seemed to come from the very walls. The humans stood still at the entrance, their eyes adjusting to the brilliance. The chamber was round and wide, larger than a city hall. Around the edges, statues of giant snakes circled the room, each coiled tightly as if ready to strike. Their eyes shone faint green, casting shadows that flickered across the polished floor. At the center of the room, the floor was marked with a great circle of stone tiles. Each tile was carved with a different symbol: spirals, snakes, crowns, suns, and stars. The humans felt the weight of the place at once. It was clear this was no ordinary hall. It was a trial. Rin's voice trembled slightly. "Do you think these snakes will come alive like the others?" Thomas studied the statues carefully. "They are larger than the ones we faced before. If they move, they could crush us in moments." Mira knelt near the tiled floor, tracing one of the symbols with her lamp. "This is not just decoration. It is a puzzle again. Look at the way the symbols are arranged. They must form a path." Aaron's eyes swept across the chamber. He stood calm as always, though his crew felt the tension. "Every step we take here will be watched," he said. "The snakes are waiting. They will not allow mistakes." Lena, holding her recorder close, spoke quietly. "It feels like the room itself is alive. It is watching us, waiting to see what we do." As if her words carried truth, the statues stirred. The humans froze as the stone snakes slowly raised their heads. Grinding filled the chamber as the massive bodies shifted against the walls, their glowing eyes fixed on the crew. The air grew heavy, filled with the hiss of stone against stone. Then the tiled floor lit up. Symbols flashed in order: spiral, snake, crown, star. The pattern repeated, then faded. Mira gasped. "It is a sequence. We must step on the tiles in the right order." Rin frowned. "And if we step wrong?" Aaron's steady voice answered. "Then the snakes will strike." The first tile in the sequence glowed again, waiting. Aaron stepped forward with calm confidence. His boot landed on the spiral. At once, the nearest statue moved, lowering its head until its jaws hovered above him. The crew held their breath, but the snake did not strike. Instead, its eyes glowed brighter, and the next tile, the snake symbol, lit up. Aaron looked back at his crew. "Follow the order. Stay close." Mira went next, her steps careful. She moved on to the snake tile. The statues hissed again, their stone mouths opening wide, but still they did not attack. The next symbol, the crown, lit up. One by one, the crew followed the sequence. Thomas muttered to himself as he checked each tile. Lena whispered the order to make sure none of them forgot. Rin, though his hand shook, stepped boldly onto the glowing star tile, his young spirit refusing to be left behind. The chamber responded to each correct step. The statues shifted, their great heads weaving in the air like living serpents. Their movements were slow and powerful, yet always controlled, as if they were measuring the human's courage. The path wound across the entire chamber, tile after tile. The humans moved carefully, their breaths loud in the silence. Each time the right tile was chosen, the glow spread further, lighting more of the path. Each time they hesitated, the snakes hissed, their stone jaws opening wider, reminding them of the danger. Rin nearly slipped once, his foot landing near the wrong symbol. At once the statues reared back, their eyes blazing. Aaron pulled him back quickly, his strong grip steadying the boy. "Stay focused," Aaron said firmly. "Do not let fear guide you." Rin nodded, his face pale but determined. He followed again, this time with sharper care. At last, after what felt like hours, the crew reached the center of the chamber. The final tile glowed brightly under Aaron's foot. A deep rumble shook the floor. The statues slowly lowered their heads, bowing until their jaws touched the ground. Their eyes dimmed, fading to faint glimmers. The trial was past. The humans stood in silence, breathing hard, yet filled with triumph. Mira wiped sweat from her brow. This was not only a puzzle. It was a judgment. "The snakes were measuring our unity, our memory, our courage," Lena wrote quickly, her hands trembling. "They did not want to destroy us. They wanted to see if we were worthy." Aaron looked around the chamber, his calm eyes filled with quiet pride. "And we proved that we are." As if to reward them, the center of the floor opened. A circular platform rose from beneath, carved with golden patterns. On it lay an object covered in dust and time, a staff of stone crowned with a serpent's head made of crystal. The crew gathered around it, their eyes wide. Thomas spoke first. "It must be an artifact of the Serpent King. Look at the craft. It is not only a weapon. It is a key." Mira nodded in agreement. "Yes. The carvings on the staff match the symbols on the doors. With this, we may be able to open the next chamber." Aaron lifted the staff carefully. It was heavier than it looked, yet it felt balanced in his hands. The crystal serpent at its crown glowed faintly as if alive. Aaron's voice was calm but firm. "This is the prize of the trial. It is the key to the heart of the tomb." The platform sank back into the ground and the floor closed again. The statues remained still, their task complete. The humans turned to the far side of the chamber where a new gate stood. This gate was taller than the others, carved with symbols that shone faintly in the golden light. At its center was a hollow space, shaped exactly to fit the staff Aaron now held. The crew approached. Aaron raised the staff and placed it into the slot. At once, the carvings lit up, lines of golden light racing across the gate. The chamber shook as the gate split apart, opening slowly with a deep roar. Beyond lay a passage filled with golden light, brighter than any they had seen before. The air that poured out was cool and heavy, carrying with it a sense of age and power. Rin's eyes shone with excitement. This must be it, the deepest part of the tomb. "The true treasure," Mira's voice was cautious. "Do not forget. The Serpent King did not build all this for gold alone. What lies inside may be knowledge or something even greater." Aaron looked back at his crew, his expression calm but serious. "Remember this. We are not here for greed. We are here to uncover truth. Whatever waits for us beyond this gate, we will face it together." The crew nodded, their hearts steady with resolve. They stepped through the open gate, leaving the chamber of stone snakes behind. The statues watched silently, their trial complete. The humans had proven themselves once again, passing where countless others had failed. The passage ahead was long and glowing, leading downward into the heart of the tomb. The air grew colder as they descended, but their spirits burned with determination. For they knew the greatest trial still lay ahead, and the Serpent King himself, though long dead, had one last secret waiting for them. The humans stepped into the final chamber of the tomb. The air was thick with a golden glow, warmer than the cold of the lower passageways. The chamber was immense, shaped like a vast dome, and its walls sparkled with gold in patterns of serpents twisting and coiling endlessly. In the center stood a throne of solid gold taller than any man, carved with symbols of stars, crowns, and serpents. On the throne rested a large, glowing sphere. It pulsed with light like a heartbeat, and its brilliance filled the room. Aaron's breath caught in his chest. This was no ordinary treasure. The sphere seemed alive, almost breathing, and it radiated a warmth that made the humans feel both awe and calm. Mira stepped closer, studying the sphere carefully. This is knowledge," she whispered. "It is older than anything we have seen. Not just gold or jewels, but the understanding of civilizations that existed before even the tailor." Rin's eyes shone bright. Then the stories were true. The Serpent King wanted to guard something greater than gold. He wanted to protect knowledge. Thomas reached out, but Aaron stopped him. "Not yet," he said. "We must show that we are worthy, not only brave." At that moment, the stone snakes lining the walls stirred. They rose, forming a circle around the throne. Their glowing eyes focused on the humans, and the ground beneath them trembled slightly. Their mouths opened, hissing with a low sound that filled the chamber like a warning. Aaron stepped forward, calm and steady. "We are not here to take what is not ours. We are here to understand. We respect this place." The snakes paused, and the hissing softened. Their eyes swept over each human as if reading their hearts. One by one, they lowered their heads, coiling back into their positions along the walls. The humans understood. The guardians acknowledged them as worthy. Mira stepped to the throne, her hands trembling slightly. She reached toward the sphere, and as she touched it, a vision appeared before her eyes. She saw worlds in chaos, civilizations rising and falling, stars forming and dying. She saw the Serpent King ruling not by force alone, but with wisdom. He guided his people with care, teaching them to use knowledge as power. She felt the weight of centuries pressing into her mind, but it was not heavy. It was enlightening. Aaron watched her carefully, seeing the wonder in her eyes. He felt the same pull of understanding. He stepped closer, placing a hand on the sphere. Images of ancient machines, stars mapped across the sky, and great libraries of knowledge filled his mind. He realized that the Serpent King had preserved the greatest treasures of all: wisdom, culture, and discovery. Rin could not resist. He reached forward and touched the sphere as well. A warm light enveloped him, showing him visions of courage, teamwork, and perseverance. He saw humans facing challenges across planets, not just here in the tomb, and he understood something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not power or skill alone, but the ability to face the unknown together. The humans withdrew their hands slowly, breathing in wonder. Aaron turned to his crew. "We now understand why this tomb has lasted so long. It was never meant for greed. It was a test of spirit, heart, and unity." Mira nodded. "The knowledge here is infinite. We can share it with humanity. We can build a future that learns from the past." Suddenly, a voice echoed in the chamber. It was not loud, but it carried weight. It was the voice of the Serpent King himself, though long dead. "Those who come with courage, wisdom, and respect may take from this place, but not with hands alone. Take with heart and mind, and you shall honor what has been preserved." The humans bowed their heads, understanding the meaning. They did not need to speak. They had come not for gold, not for jewels, but for the knowledge and lessons the tomb preserved. Aaron walked around the throne, observing every detail. The golden throne was engraved with stories of his people, their victories and failures. The sphere pulsed gently, and he realized that this light could guide humanity for centuries if shared with care. Rin whispered, "It is more than treasure. It is a legacy." "Yes," Aaron said softly, "and now it belongs to those who will use it wisely." The humans carefully documented every symbol, every pattern, and every artifact in the chamber. They used their scanners to preserve the knowledge without disturbing the golden structures. They worked together, each contributing their skill to ensure that nothing was lost or broken. After hours of careful study, the chamber began to feel still, as if it were satisfied. The golden light softened, and the snakes returned to their positions along the walls. The guardians did not threaten them again. Instead, they seemed almost peaceful, like they had fulfilled their duty. Aaron addressed his crew. "We have proven ourselves in every trial. We have shown courage, wisdom, and teamwork. The tomb opens its deepest secret not for us alone, but for all of humanity." Mira smiled, her eyes shining. The tailor tried for centuries and failed. They could not understand the lessons. "But we did, because we worked together and think beyond ourselves," Thomas added. "And we respected the place. We did not take what we were not meant to. That made all the difference. Rin, younger but wiser now, spoke with quiet pride. This is what it means to be human. We face the unknown, we learn and we grow. And we do it together, Aaron nodded. The tomb was waiting for us. Not for our strength alone, but for our spirit. That is what makes humanity special. That is what the Serpent King saw in us. The humans prepared to leave. They carefully backed away from the throne, ensuring nothing was disturbed. As they stepped toward the exit, the golden sphere glowed once more, brighter than before. It sent a warm light across the chamber, touching each human and filling them with a sense of calm and purpose. Outside, the desert stretched in silence. The tailor watched in astonishment as the golden light flickered from the tomb. They could not understand fully how humans had succeeded where they had failed for generations. Aaron looked at his crew, his eyes filled with quiet pride. We did not take the treasure alone. We carry knowledge, courage, and unity. That is the real reward. That is what humanity can share with the stars. Mira added, we will bring this back not just to our people, but to everyone who seeks to learn, to grow, and to explore. This is a gift from the past to the future. Tomas smiled, adjusting his equipment. And it was worth every challenge. Every trial prepared us for this moment. We proved that humanity is not limited by fear, only by imagination and cooperation. Rin looked back at the tomb one last time. I think the Serpent King would be proud. Aaron placed a hand on his shoulder. He already is. And now we will honor him by using what we have learned wisely. The humans stepped into the sunlight of the desert. The wind blew gently across their faces, carrying with it the dust of centuries. Behind them, the tomb of the Serpent King remained, silent yet alive with the knowledge they had earned. For the first time in history, humans had passed all the trials. They had faced stone snakes, puzzles, shifting floors, and ancient guardians, not with greed or fear, but with courage, teamwork, and respect. The Serpent King's treasure was no longer hidden. It had chosen its worthy inheritors, and humanity had proven itself ready to bear it. As their transport ship rose into the sky, the crew looked down at the desert. The golden light from the tomb still shone faintly through the sands, a reminder of what had been achieved. They were not only explorers, they were the first humans to unlock the secret of the Serpent King, and they carried with them a message that would inspire generations. Aaron stood at the front of the ship, gazing at the horizon. This is only the beginning, he said. We now have a path to knowledge, and we will follow it wherever it leads. We will face the stars with courage, and humanity will shine among them. The others nodded, their hearts filled with hope and determination. They had faced the unknown and emerged victorious. They had learned that the greatest treasure was not gold, not jewels, but the courage to explore, the wisdom to understand, and the unity to succeed together. And so the tomb of the Serpent King, where ancient gold lay guarded by stone snakes, remained behind them, a place of wonder, a test of spirit, and a legacy of humanity's triumph.